Hello, computer scientists. This is Mr. Lang, and I have the pleasure of showing you a little bit about an application that I built for a business. So in advanced computer science, one of the first things that we learn about is how to build a user interface for phones and tablets. How do they look on different devices? And so I actually have an emulated phone, a virtual cell phone right here that I can look at my app and see what it looks like on a phone, which is really cool. And so I'm going to kind of work you through that. But again, one of the first things that we do is learn a little bit how to set up the graphics. How do we make, or how do we set colors and stuff on our phones or on our applications that we're building for, again, tablets and phones and whatnot. So I'm just going to kind of go through a couple of the tools that we are using to do so. So first of all, again, I am using an emulator cell phone. So again, this looks like a cell phone, acts like a cell phone, and everything in between. Another tool that I am using is GitHub. That way I can put my code right here. This is my four-wheeling code on GitHub. So if I happen to, if something happened to my computer, I have access to all my hard work. So that is very crucial. All right. I also am using GetCracking. GetCracking is a way for me to keep track of all my projects, things I got to get done. So you can see my four-wheeling business. I'm still working in progress. These are all of my sprints that I have to take care of. In the last couple sprints is one, a screencast of my project. That's what I'm working on right now. And then I need to add that to my ePortfolio. So it's really cool. You can see that now I've got 11 out of 12. Well, I'm not done 100% yet, so we'll uncheck that. You can also see I'm working on a just Java app and stuff like that. So those are in progress. My birthday card app that I have created already is now done. All right, so I moved it over to my done. Also with GetCracking, I actually have that's my birthday card app. Let me go ahead and switch over to my four-wheeling app. These are all of my commits that I have made throughout my project. So, and I'm going to kind of work through those and kind of show you how that works here in just a little bit. But this is an amazing tool for developers to use. And so one of the biggest ones that we work in, though, is Android Studio. All right, so Android Studio is just an IDE, an integrated development environment for us to be able to write our code and kind of see how things look on a screen, but not really function properly. That's why we need these emulators, if you will, so we can really see how things work on a phone, how our users would see our app. So these are some really cool tools that we can use. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize that real quick and kind of take you through my app. So I'm in my text view right now, and I started with a relative layout. And the reason I did a relative layout in is because I had things relative to each other. So I had this relative to this image, this paragraph relative to this image, another image, kind of a line here, kind of breaking up my paragraph to my fake address and phone number, to my hours of operation. So I have them in there. Everything's relative to each other. I don't have things in a linear layout. These things are relative, and you'll learn about that in advanced computer science, what those different layouts mean. So the first thing I have is my image view. All right, so my image is my picture that I have here. I went in, I gave it an ID name, which you will want to do for every little thing that you do, whether it's an image view or text view, even if you don't use that ID. Again, you'll learn what that means. But here's my height. I wanted my height to be 300 dp, so 300 high. If I change that, let me just change that maybe to a 200. You can see how that will change over here in my view. All right, but I'm going to change that back to 300. All right, my width, I have it to match parent. So the width goes all the way over to the parent. I have a little padding left and right, so it's not right up against the edge. I put a little 10 dp, some pixels between it. So again, it's not right up to the edge. If I look through my emulator, you can see that I have a nice little border there where the image is not directly up against the edge. All right, so that's what that is. I did a center crop. I wanted the image centered on the page and stuff like that. So, and this is where I got it from. This is the source. What does that mean? If I come over to my drawable folder here, there's my four-wheeler.jpg. One thing I found out when I named my files for Android Studio, got to do it in all lowercase letters. I had four and wheeling in uppercase letters, and it did not like it so much. It gave me an error. I had to do some research and figure out why, but that's the fun of being a developer. You're going to run into a lot of errors. Finding out why they are errors is sometimes fun and rewarding, and sometimes very frustrating as well. Maybe you want to bang your head against the wall. I have a quote in my classroom: my code doesn't work, I have no idea why. My code works, I have no idea why. All right, so sometimes we live like that. And so moving along my app here, you guys, I have my next text view. If I click on it, my up north, all right, and so you can see that relative-wise, let me see where it's at. I've got it above this. So where did I put that? There's my ID, layout center horizontal, my text. So here's the color. I wanted it all white, so there's my hexadecimal color. I'm wrapping my content, all right, around it. And again, you'll learn more about what this is, but basically wrapping around that placeholder. I wanted it horizontally centered. I put that to true. I got some padding again, so that way it's not butted right up against the top, not butted right up against the bottom. All right, so there's that image view. I wanted my text, my text view to be bold. If I click into here, here's my paragraph text, okay? So that way I've got this here. Again, I've got my layout below. This is where the relative comes into play. I wanted this below this ID tag. So my ID image, this was my ID image. This is the tag for my image view, ID image. So being that I have a relative layout, I could go to this text view and put it to where it is, where was it? Below that text view. Allows me to do that. Again, some padding, as I've already mentioned that. Again, here's my text, and it goes across my screen. If I would happen to drag over here, you'll see where that paragraph text goes quite a long way. The color of it, my text size of 18 SP. All right, a little bit different pixel ratio than DP. Here's another image view. Again, this is, I called it my separation line through my ID tag. All right, and so there's the source for it. Again, being a relative layout, I wanted it below my description of my business. Here's my ID description, so I put it below that. Again, my relative layout allows me to do so. I've got it wrapped content, found that nice line on line. Again, it is from the drawable folder, multi-lines edit. So there is my multi-lines edit right there, and it's a PNG. All right, and then I have my text view for my hours of operation. So I've got my wrap content again. I have it below my separation line. So again, using the relative, I got it below. And then I have it aligned right to the parent equals true because I wanted that to be aligned right. My colors and my size and all of that is there. Here is my text view, which is right underneath that. And so somewhere I have, there it is, my layout below, my hours of operation heading, the ID tag for that, and then the padding. So it's padding to the right a little bit. So there's a little space over on the right there. The text, where it's aligned, the size of it, again, the hexadecimal color. Here is my text view for my hours. And then jumping over to the left here, again, I have it being a relative layout below my separation line, but then I have it aligned to the left side, and I equaled it true because, yes, I wanted it aligned to the left side. Here is my text for my email, and then for my address in Boyne Mountain. Again, this is made up, but this is my app that I have created. So you can see how things are here. What I like about this, too, is I can jump over to the designer and kind of see my different views. All right, my image view and another image view and my text views, and I can see how that looks here as well. All right, but again, I also wanted to test it out on my app, see what it looks like on a phone. So again, we're just kind of learning how to set up some user interface, how to move text around, how to make them relative to each other, where do we want them to be placed, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Again, this is one of the first lessons that we do. We're going to learn a whole lot more about how to place items on the screens of different devices. All right, so we got that done. What I want to show you guys is, if I go back to my text layout here where my program is, this didn't start here at this point. Obviously, I had to build up to this point. So take a look at some of these cool tools we got. So here I am in my GetCracking. This is a repository, a way for me to have commits to where I feel comfortable to mess things up. I can make mistakes. I can totally butcher my app. But what this does, it creates a fail-safe for us. If we do mess something up, we can check out a previous commit, which these are all commits, and then we can go from there. We haven't demolished our entire project. Think of a video game designer who works months, years on games. Could you imagine if they lost everything? If they did one thing in their code and it botched everything up? They have multiple fail-safes, and that's what we have here. We have multiple fail-safes. We have one here locally. This is, when I say locally, I mean on my own personal computer's hard drive. And then we also have one up in the cloud. So I have a copy of that same program up in the cloud to where if something did happen to my computer, I could go and download it and get right back to work in literally minutes. All right, so let's go back to here. Let's start where I actually began this project, all right, through initial commit. This is where it just created what's called a README file. I'm going to go up one commit. This then brought in all the files. You're going to see a bunch of files here that is needed to create this application. I'm going to go ahead and check it out. So I'm going to double click on it and be patient. Actually, I need to right click on it and I want to check this commit out. That's what I'll do. And now you can see it says head here. So I'm back to this commit. I am going to go over to Android Studio, and by the power of repositories and GetCracking, this is what my app looked like when I first began. Not much. I put in a relative layout and I made my initial commit, and that's what it looked like. All right. So if I then go back to GetCracking here, and you can see this commit, I added an image view and I added some background color. Very important to add a short but sweet commit message. All right. So when I got something done, I committed it, because some people are adding commits. Like, for example, this one, again, I added an image view and added a background color. I will have people do a commit called, well, it's a sunny day out there. Well, that commit has nothing to do with your app. So make sure you have good commit messages. One thing if I click on this, I can see that I've also put in a description that I tested it on my Nexus 5X with Android Nougat 7.1 operating system, and it is stable. All right, so I'm going to check this one out. So I'm going to right click, check this commit out, and it is working. It checked it out successfully. If I head over to Android Studio, you can see now that it added my background color and my image that I put on here. And that's what it looked like. If I were to test that out on my phone, let me go ahead and push that to my phone. It is building right now. You can see these things building. And eventually, it is going to refresh this to this build right here. And we'll be patient. I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and I'll come back once it loads up. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see now on my emulated device, on my virtual phone, you can see exactly what I have here. I can kind of see what it looks like. So it's really cool. I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'm going to go ahead and check out a different commit. And you can see that I added a title here. I added a business description. I added hours of operation. I added a phone number. So let's go ahead and check out this commit, adding a phone number. You should now see that I have all of these other things added as well. I made a commit each time. So if I go here, it takes a second, give it a second to refresh, and yes, it did. I've added my paragraphs, my phone numbers, my hours of operation and stuff like that. So every time I got something done, I made a commit. All right, because if I added my phone number and botched up my entire project, I want to have a fail-safe. All right, so if I actually push this to my phone, I would see this right here. But I'm not going to push right now. I'll push that here in a second. I'm going to go back to GetCracking. And so again, I added an email, address, a separation line. So let's go ahead and take a look at the separation line. Let me go ahead and check out that commit. And now that I have that head there, if I head on over to Android Studio, I'll take a second here, and it doesn't take too long to refresh. But you can see that I added this line. I've never done that before. I am new to this as well. I'm learning right along with you guys. And so I, again, have the confidence that if I botch this separation line up, I can just go back to a previous commit. Check that out, and off I go. No harm, no foul. All right, so one thing that I wanted to do, again, this is the old one. Let me go ahead and push this to the phone now. So I'm going to go ahead and push. And you can see that it is building down below. It's building the whole process, running through, making sure things are all the programs. It's compiling the XML right now, and it is sending it over to the phone. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this while it is sending it to the phone because it takes a few seconds. All right, I'm back, you guys, and as you can see, I have my phone here. Looks like what I was doing over here. All right, it's got my separation line and everything. One thing that I noticed that I didn't like this banner, and it puts this in automatically, and I didn't want that. So in the training in Android Studio and Udacity, they didn't show us how to take that out or add to it or change what is up there, maybe changing the colors of it. They didn't show us that. So what could we do if we wanted to do something? You guessed it. I Googled it. I Stack Overflowed it. I researched it, found a way to do it. So one thing I want to show you before I skip over to that is in my GetCracking, I always, for my add separation line, again, that's my commit, I put a little text messages as well or a description. I tested it on my 5X and it's stable. I always want to do that because if it wasn't stable, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to figure out why it's not stable before I make that commit. All right. So one last thing, I took out the banner, and that's kind of where I am today. So I'm going to check out my master. All right. And I'm going to go ahead, tested it. It is stable. I'm going to send that to my, go over to my Android Studio, send that one more time over to my phone, and it's building. And again, in a few minutes here, this will load up, and you will then see this go away. All right. One of the things, if I jump over to here, again, I added this, and it's stable. Oh, I think that's all I want to say about that. I don't think, I thought I added something else here, but yeah, that's about all I want to say there. See if my phone is now, it looks like it's installing. So I actually went in my phone and changed the background color. Here's some of the other apps that I've been building. My birthday card, I had a Christmas card right there, and eventually it is going to load up. So it doesn't take too long, but there it is. My banner is gone. All right, and I had to learn how to do that. I had to go into a certain file and change something from true to false. I didn't want it to be there. So here's my app, you guys. I like the way it kind of turned out and it looks. I'm looking forward to learning a whole lot more. Again, we're just learning about the user interface, how things look and how to set things up. Again, we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. Our next lesson in lesson 2 in Udacity is learning how to do user input, to where if somebody, I think we're going to build a coffee app to where if we want 5 coffees, all right, we can press plus and it will add coffees to how many we want, and it will tell us how much it will cost, give us some messages. So we're going to start getting some user input where people can touch the buttons on their phone to add things to their cart and purchase things. So that's going to be kind of cool. And so, yeah, again, I'm really excited about learning this application development. It's a big skill, or it's a great skill to know because it's in big demand right now. We're in the year 2020, just turned into 2020. And there are apps popping up everywhere. Who knows? You may have the next best app to change the world. And that's really what we want to do, you guys, is have a great environment for people to use. And for local businesses. Find your local business. I really recommend it. to find a local business, an aunt or an uncle or a grandma, grandpa, or a parent who has a business, a small business that you can make an app for. That'd be really cool. So, all right, you guys, can't wait to see what you create.